So guys, today we will begin our session by the topic called as interhalogen compounds. Interhalogen compounds, very much important topic, okay, and also very interesting topic. ಯಾಕೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ನಾವೇನ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈಗೇನ್ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಏನುಂಟು ಅದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಜೊತೆನೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಸೊ ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಆ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ನಾವೇನಂತ ಹೇಳೋದು ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋ ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾಸ್ ಗಳು ಯಾವ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್, ಓಕೆ, 1:1 ರೇಷಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇರೋದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ ಥ್ರೈಸ್, ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ 5 and ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಡ್ಯಾಶ್ 7. So these are the general composition of your interhalogen compounds. 1:1, 1:3, 1:5 and 1:7. ಸೊ ಈ ತರ ಒಂದು ಕಾಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ನಾವು ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ನ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವಾಗ ಈ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾಸ್ ನ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಥಿಂಗ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದಟ್? One is your x, another part I have written as x dash. Of course you may say, sir, x means it will be one halogen, whereas x dash will be another halogen. That is not so simple. Whatever you are saying is right, but along with that one, you should also remember, whenever you are writing this compound, do remember, very much important, see, in each and every case, x comes first. What is this x? Of course it is a halogen. Of course it is a halogen, but we are notifying it with its size. So halogen with larger size. Halogen with larger size. So first halogen, whenever you're writing an interhalogen compounds, do remember, keep it in your mind. Don't do ulta. Illa andre nimage gottagbidu 3, 5, 7 untu. Illi enagide 1:1 ratio iddin karanadinda you should be very much attentive over here. Whenever you're writing the first halogen, that halogen should be of larger size. Then the next part, whatever you're writing, x dash, that will be the halogen of smaller size. Halogen of smaller size. Sir, how to remember the size? If you are asking this question, then you are a dumbstruck fellow. Why? Because as we are going down the group, what happens to the radius of the halogen? Goes on, increases. So fluorine ige least atomic radius irutte, iodine ige largest atomic radius irutte. So ಆ ಒಂದು ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಇಂದ ಈಗ ಬರ್ಕೋಬಹುದಲ್ವಾ. ಯಾವತ್ತೇ ನಾವು ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನ್ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೋಬೇಕು, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೋ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಸೈಜು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಬರುತ್ತಾ ಅದರ ಸೈಜು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Along with this one more important part you just remember, whatever the x you are going to write alwa, it is always will be more electropositive than x dash. Why I am saying this? Of course, now whenever you're choosing, for example, if I am going to choose as CLF, okay, CLF. Of course, whenever it is forming a compound, we know that one will be existing as a plus, another will be existing as a minus. Both are halogens. So x plus in the ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವ್ದು ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಬರೀತಾರೆ. ಯಾಕೆ? Because of course it is size will be more. ಸೈಜ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದ್ದಷ್ಟು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಲೆಸ್. ಸೊ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಕೊಡೋ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಏನಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರೋ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, whenever we are writing as an interhalogen, your x will be the halogen with a larger size and it will be of more electropositive than that of your x dash. Clear? Okay. Now when you are observing the general composition of your interhalogen, I have written x dash, I have written x dash 3, I have written x dash 5, x dash 7. You can ask me a question, sir, why we are getting these numbers 1, 3, 5, 7? Alva, of course you can ask me. Do remember guys, whatever the number of the atoms, mark my words, okay, listen carefully, whatever the number of the atoms which is present in an interhalogen compounds, it totally depends upon the ratio of radii of x and x dash. Ratio of the radii of x and x dash. For example, ಈಗ ನಾನು x dash 7 ತಗೊಂತೀನಿ ಆಸ್ ಅ ಅಯೋಡಿನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಫ್ಲೂರೈಡ್ ನ ತಗೋಣ. Of course, first ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರೀಬೇಕು, ion with a larger size, then comes your halogen with a smaller size. But this is not the formula, actual formula. What is the formula? We'll come to know. But before that one, ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ, as the ratio of the radii, mark my words, as the ratio of the radii of x and x dash increases, what happens? Number of the atoms per molecule increases. Number of the atoms per molecule increases. That means what? If you're taking the halogens of a similar, at most similar atomic radii, the number of the atoms which will be present in the molecule will be not much. But when you're taking the large difference between the atomic radius of one halogen with respect to the other, you can just see iodine will be having the largest size of the halogen because it is coming at the lowest part of the group, whereas fluorine will be having the smallest atomic radii because it is coming at the first top. So whatever the ratio of difference will be there between the radius of your iodine and that of your fluorine will be very high. So since their ratio is very high, what happens? Number of the atoms in that molecule, per molecule it increases. Therefore, whenever we are forming an interhalogen compounds of an iodine and a fluorine, we will be getting the formula as IF7. IF7. You could just see having a maximum number of atoms. In no other interhalogens you could find this part. Whatever we are writing as an x-7, it is only having one important formula, that is your IF7. Why we are getting such a big number? It is basically because of the difference between the ratio of atomic radii of your iodine and that of your fluorine, which is very large. So as the ratio of the radii of that of your x and x dash increases, number of the atoms per molecule also increases. Is that clear? That is the reason your I and F is having the formula as IF7, having the maximum number of atoms. Clear? Now let us go with some of preparation. How to prepare your interhalogen compounds? Very much important. They can ask you direct question over here, so please pay attention. Basically, interhalogen compounds are prepared by the direct combination. Yes, ಒಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಜೊತೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ನಾವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾಡಿ interhalogen compounds prepare ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅಥವಾ or there is also another case where you can treat halogen with another interhalogen compound. ಏನ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ? First preparation, you can treat halogen with a halogen, direct combination, where you will be getting an interhalogen. Let me write it as an IH. Similarly, there is a case where you can treat your interhalogen with an halogen to get another interhalogen. These are the two cases. But basically, we would prefer, as per our syllabus, the first part, that is halogen reacting with a halogen to give you an interhalogen. Okay, this is called as your direct combination. Of course, you have to maintain certain specific condition. We'll go with it. First of all, we'll take equal volumes of halogen. Okay, equal volumes of halogen. So first of all, we'll see what happens when chlorine reacts with fluorine. Nearly the temperature is maintained as a 437 Kelvin. So ಯಾವ್ದು ಬರುತ್ತೆ? I will say you. ನಿಮಗೆ F ಮತ್ತೆ Cl direct combination ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಯಾವ್ದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರಿಬೇಕು? Yes, the halogen with the largest size. So Cl ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸೈಜ್, fluorine ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸೈಜ್. Of course it is for chlorine. ಅಲ್ವಾ? Chlorine ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸೈಜ್, fluorine ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಸೈಜ್, chlorine ಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. So we'll write that one first, followed by F. So balance it, 2ClF. Can you see? First comes the halogen of the larger size, followed by the halogen of the smaller size. The same way you have to write. And moreover, you just see here how many atoms we are having? Only 2. Why? Because soon after fluorine, we'll be having the chlorine. Whatever the ratio of the atomic radii difference is there, it is very small. So as the atomic radii ratio decreases, what happens? Number of the atoms per molecule also decreases. Similar, if you consider for I2 and Cl2, here what happens? You'll be getting the formula as ICl, 2ICl. You can just notify. First comes the halogen of a larger size, then comes the halogen of a smaller size. Now let us see. Here we are using the equal volumes, equal moles. Next we'll see excess of halogen. What happens when you are using one excess of halogen? So basically, first part, Cl2 plus 3F2. Okay, 3F2 andre ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡಿದೀನಿ? ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ನಾನು excess ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. Here you will be getting as what? ClF3. So you can see, if you balance this, you will be getting as 2ClF3, where Cl is having the +3 oxidation state, whereas F is having the -1 oxidation state. Clear? The next we're going to see Br2 bromine reacting with the fluorine, excess of fluorine. So I will take it as excess 5F2. You will be getting as BrF5. In order to balance this, you will be getting as 2BrF5. Similarly, there is another part, of course, the bromine reacting with the fluorine. But what I have done, I have diluted it with water. Okay, I have diluted the reaction mixture with water. Okay, there is no one, we can say there is nothing excess over here. Just we have treating your bromine with the 3 moles of fluorine. Basically, I am going to treat it with 3 moles of fluorine followed by addition of water. Here I am going to get as BrF3. BrF3. When you are going to balance this, 2BrF3. So these were the certain important preparations of your interhalogen compounds. Okay. The next part we are going to see certain important properties. Okay, properties of your interhalogen compounds. Interhalogen compounds ka properties. So remember, whatever the interhalogens we have studied so far, they all are covalent molecules. They all are covalent molecules, and very much important thing is about their magnetic behavior. They are diamagnetic in nature. What do you mean by diamagnetic? What you can say, repelling or attracting? Of course, it repels the magnet. Dia means it repels the magnet. Para means it attracts the magnet. Alva? So your interhalogen compounds are covalent and they are diamagnetic in nature. Coming to the next property, basically about their reactivity. Do remember, your interhalogen compounds are more reactive. Interhalogen compounds are more reactive than the halogens. But there is an exception over here in the halogen, that is your fluorine. Why is it so? Can anyone explain over here? What I am saying, your interhalogens are more reactive. So I have said you, whenever there is coming a tendency of reactivity, okay, reactivity ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, ಅದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಾವ್ ಏನ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಬಾಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತ್ ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಷ್ಟು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಬಾಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೆಂತ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಏನು, ಬಾಂಡ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅವಾಗ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಸ್ಪ್ಲಿಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಫರ್ದರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಇಂಟರ್ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದಿ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ your interhalogen compound, it is very weak when compared to that of your halogens alva. If for example ನಾನು ClF ನ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ Cl2 ನ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಈ Cl ಮತ್ತೆ F ಮೀರ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಏನಾಗಿರೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ವೀಕ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅವಾಗ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ when compared to which one, halogen, that is your Cl2. But here they have given you an exception. What is that? ನೀವು ಮತ್ತೆ ಈಗ ClF ಮತ್ತೆ F2 ನ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ F2 ದ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವಿಟಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ವಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ರೀಸನ್? ಒನ್ಸ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೋವರ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಡಿಸೋಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಎಂಥಾಲ್ಪಿ. ಇದು ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಲ್ಲ. ಡ್ಯೂ ಟು ದಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸೈಜ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ರಿಪೆಲ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಟ್ಟುಗೂಡಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನಿಗೆ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೋಡ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು, ಏನಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ಬಾಂಡ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಕಂಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್, ಆದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಯಾವುದು, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದ ಅವ್ರು ಏನ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಮೋರ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್ ದಿ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್, ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್, ಬಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ರೆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ ಟು ಯೋರ್ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್. ವೈ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಸೋ? ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ವೀಕರ್ FF ಬಾಂಡ್. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದಿ FF ಬಾಂಡ್ ಏನುಂಟು ತುಂಬಾನೇ ವೀಕ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ. The next important property we'll see what happens when you're going to treat your interhalogen compounds with water. Okay, do remember all interhalogen compounds under hydrolysis, or all interhalogen compounds undergoes hydrolysis. So what does they give on hydrolysis? Let us see. Yes, so basically whenever you're going to treat interhalogen with water, two things are common. Okay, first you're going to get a halide ion. Okay, HX antu bande barutte, halide ion. So ali aa X eniruttala, basically it will be from the smaller halogen. Okay, smaller halogen. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟಾ ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ? ನೀವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಈಗ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ನ ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಒಂದ್ ತಿಂಗು ಕಾಮನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಹೆಲೈಡ್ ಅಯಾನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಹೆಲೈಡ್ ಅಯಾನ್ ಏನ್ ಬಂದಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಈಗ HX ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಏನಿರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಬಿ ಅನ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಈಗ ClF ನ ನೀವು ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಬರಬೇಕು, ಫಸ್ಟ್ HX ಬರಬೇಕು. HX ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವುದು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೋದು, HF ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಯೋರ್ ಹೆಲೈಡ್. ಈ ಎಫ್ ಯಾವುದು, ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಅ ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್. The another product, whatever you are going to get, it depends what type of an interhalogen composition you are having. Why I am saying this, because for example if you are using the type of XX dash, okay, XX dash, of course one thing will be common. Okay, if you are treating idu enagutte HX dash barutte. Okay, X dash will be of smaller size alva, X dash bantu. But when you are using a X dash, remember another part, okay, that will be a hypohalite. That will be an hypohalite. Hypohalite and the general formula ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅದರದ್ದು, it will be having the formula as HOX. You can just see halide ಏನು ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಸ್ಮಾಲರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದೇನು ಬರುತ್ತಲ್ಲ hypohalite, that will be of a larger halogen, X ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ if I am going to use X dash thrice along with water, of course you are going to get as HX dash. This is common. But when you are using an X dash thrice, you will be getting an halite. HALITE. The formula is HOX2. So similarly, when you are having as an X dash 5, it has been treated with water. Of course, halide is common, which will be having a halogen of the smaller size. But along with that one, you will be getting a halate, HALATE. The general formula of halate, basically it is XO3. But since we are having water, so we will be giving us a HXO3. Okay, here I made a mistake, sorry. Here you will be getting as a HXO2. Whereas halate you will be having as HXO3. Similarly, when you take it as an X-7 treated with the water, of course you will be going to get as HX dash plus you are going to get as what? Yes, perchlorate. You are going to get as perchlorate. So here the formula of a perchlorate is HXO4. So what is the main thing? Whenever you are taking your interhalogen, of course they are going to undergo hydrolysis. Whenever they are going to undergo hydrolysis, one important product you are going to get, that is your halide. In that halide, whatever the halogen is there, it always contains the halogen of the smaller size. And whatever the other product you are going to get, it depends upon the composition of your interhalogen. So in case if you are using the XX dash, you will be getting as a hypohalate. In case if you are using X dash thrice, you will be getting as an halite. In case if you are using XX dash 5, you are going to get as an halate. Whereas that of your XX dash 7, you are going to get as a perchlorate. But here you have to remember, whatever the X part is there in the another product, it will be the halogen of the larger size. Is that clear? Coming now with respect to these structures. Okay, I'll just give the structures here directly. Okay, so we have just determined the structures of your interhalogen compounds through your VSEPR theory, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory. So whenever you have the interhalogen compound as an XX-3, always it will be having a bent T shape. Examples, we can give it as a ClF3, IF3, ICl3, BrF3. So these are the certain examples of your XX3 type. Similarly, when you are having the interhalogen compound as an XX-5, it will be having the square pyramidal structure. The examples here we can give it as BrF5, ClF5, IF5. Okay, IF5. Similarly, another last part, that is your XX-7. Of course, it will be having a pentagonal bipyramidal structures Okay, only one interhalogen compound is existing over here, that is, as I said earlier, IF7. So these are the certain common structures of your interhalogen compounds, which once again depends upon its composition. XX-3 means it will be having a bent T shape. XX-5 means it will be having a square pyramidal shape, whereas in XX-7 they will be having a pentagonal bipyramidal structure. So these were the certain important topics of your interhalogen compounds. So the next part we are going to see is with respect to the last part of the P block elements, that is your group 18 elements. Group 18 elements. Okay? Yes, the noble gases. Noble gases. So now we are going to see the group 18 elements. So in the periodic table we are going to discuss helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon, and of course the last part is your 118th element. Unoctium, you could just see it is an unknown, but also we have left the space. That was the capacity of your Mendeleev, alva. So basically these are the certain noble gases which we are going to study once again: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and radon. Okay, so coming to the part, of course we know that group 18 elements, they are also called as your noble gases. Why they are called so, you know it, but once again we will see through it when I am going to deal with certain important properties of the noble gases. So first of all we are going to see that where all we can see this noble gases. First of all, remember, all noble gases are existing in nature. All the noble gases are existing in nature except that of your radon. Since radon is a radioactive, it is not existing as such in the atmosphere. The second part, the main constituent of the noble gas in the atmosphere, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ high percentage ಆಗಿರೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, that is your argon, which can be easily found in your dry air of the atmosphere. Okay, and that of your coming to with respect to the minerals, your helium and sometimes your neon are found in your radioactive minerals of radioactive origin, that is your pitch blende ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು. Okay, there we can see a little small, very less percentage. Okay, and that of your monazite ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಿವೈಟ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. These are certain minerals where you could just see a very less percentage of your helium and neon. But in a larger way helium ನೋಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, of course you know it is in the natural gas. So natural gas ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಮರ್ಷಿಯಲಿ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ helium ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. Whereas talking about your xenon and radon, of course they are present. Xenon present unto, radon present in atmosphere, but among your noble gases, they are the rarest elements. Xenon and radon are the rarest element, okay, among your noble gases. Coming with respect to the radon in occurrence, of course I ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ, atmosphere ಸುಲಭಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, but they are obtained as a decay product of your radium. Decay product of your radium 226. So when your radium is going to disintegrate, okay, it's a radioactive element which is going to disintegrate to give you as a radon 222, and it is having 86 plus that of your helium He42. You can just see 222 plus 426, and of course here you are having as 88, 86 plus 2, 88, balanced alva. So whenever your radium is going to disintegrate, you're going to get as a radon along with a helium part. Is that clear? So these are the occurrence of your group 18 elements, but I would like to mainly focus on its properties. So first of all we'll talk about the electronic configuration. Of course you can only guide me now. What you can say, the electronic configuration, outer electronic configuration of your noble gases? Yes, it is having ns2 np6 completely filled. So this is the case of the your noble gases except that of your helium. Helium ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತರ configuration ಇರುತ್ತೆ? Yes, it will be having just 1s2 ಅಲ್ವಾ, 1s2 which is also completely filled. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದನೇ ಇದನ್ನ ನಾವು helium ನು ಕೂಡ noble gas ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿಗೆ ಹಾಕಿರೋದು. But except that of helium, other halogens will be having the general outer electronic configuration as what? ns2 np6. Here itself is indicating why your noble gases are inert in nature. Of course, whenever a reaction is taking place in the artha enu, that element is trying to become stable. But since here the atom, whatever the noble gases are there, they are stable from the electronic configuration, so there is no need for them to react with another and prove their stability. ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಟು ಅಟೈನ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಟೆಬಿಲಿಟಿ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೀಸನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು ವೈ ನೋಬಲ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇನರ್ಟ್, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ electronic configuration. Coming with respect to its ionization enthalpy, what you can say? Ionization enthalpy. Any idea? Yes, ionization enthalpy means what? Whatever the energy you are going to supply to remove an outermost electron from an isolated gaseous atom. ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗೇಷಿಯಸ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಇಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ನೀವು ಸಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲೇನಾಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, ಅದು ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಂಟು ಅಲ್ವಾ, NS2 NP6. ಸೊ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಇಂದ ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ನೀವು ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ಸಿಮಮ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಡಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ಫುಲಿ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಆರ್ ಆಡಿಂಗ್ ಅ ವರ್ಡ್ as a forcefully, according to chemistry, what you have to do, you have to provide more energy alwa, more energy. If a child is not wishing to come out of the house, what you have to do, you have to drag him alwa, you have to put extra energy to drag him out of the house. The same way you have to put extra energy to remove an outermost electron from a stablest atom. So other reason in that, compared to the other elements of the periodic table, do remember your noble gases will be having the very high ionization enthalpy value. Very high ionization enthalpy value. The reason is once again because of its stable electronic configuration. Talking about its atomic radii. Atomic radii. Okay. If you see the periodic table, do remember guys, okay, of course what we say, as you are going across the period, your atomic radius goes on decreases because of the increase in the nuclear force. But it is applicable, this statement is applicable only till your halogen family. Only till your halogen family. Once you enter to the noble gases, what you are observing is across the period I'm talking, okay, across the period from left to right I'm talking. When you see observe the halogen, if you just Google your halogens or your noble gases atomic radii, compared to the other elements in the periodic table, they will be having the very high atomic radii. Why is it so? Because whatever the other elements you are seeing in the periodic table, their atomic radii is mainly calculated either by using your ionic radii or that of your covalent radii. But when it comes with respect to the noble gases, do remember, here we are going to calculate the radii with respect to the van der Waals radius. What it is? Van der Waals radius. So this van der Waals radius will always have a larger value. ಅಲ್ವಾ, ಏನೇ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿ ಅದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಯಾವತ್ತಿದ್ರು ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ವೆನ್ ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಟು ದಿ ಅಯಾನಿಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೋವಲೆಂಟ್ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಸರ್ ನಾವು ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೆರ್ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್ ನ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ, ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ನೋಬಲ್ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋದು ಮೋನೋ ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಮೋನೋ ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್. ನಾವ್ ಯಾವತ್ತೇ ಆಗ್ಲಿ He2, Ne2, Xe2 ಅಂತ ಬರೆಯಲ್ಲ. ನಾವ್ ಏನೇ ಬರೆಯೋದ್ರೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೇ ಏನೇ ಬರೀದಾದ್ರೆ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಬರಿತೀವಿ, He, Ne, Xe ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಏನಿದು ಮೋನೋ ಆಟಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ಎವರ್ ಮೋನೋ ಆಟಮ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ಆ ಒಂದು ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯಸ್ ಇಂದ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಇದು ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅಯಾನಿಕ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೋವಲೆಂಟ್ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್ ಯಾವತ್ತೇ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಥವಾ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಮೋನೋ ಆಟಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡೋದು ಯಾವ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೆರ್ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್. ಸೊ ಆ ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೆರ್ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಇನ ರೇಡಿಯಸ್ ಕಂಪೇರಿಟಿವ್ಲಿ ಅಯಾನಿಕ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಕೋವಲೆಂಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂನೇ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಯಾರಾಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್. ಸೊ ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ of course ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ across the periodic table the atomic radius decreases, but till where, till your halogens. Once you enter the noble gases, what happens, once again you can observe a higher value. Why is it so? Because they are measured with respect to the van der Waals radius. But since we are dealing with the noble gases, we have to talk only about the noble gases. So down the group if I want to talk about the atomic radii, of course you can only see, as you go down the group, the atomic radius goes on increases because the shells goes on adding up. Alva? Across the period, na sumne hedidasthe, just to keep it in your mind. But atomic radii of your noble gases, when you are studying particularly, down the group bandangu enagta hogutte, nima atomic radii increase agta hogutte, because there is an addition of this cell in each period. Alva? Kelage hogta bandangu enagta hogutte, onondu shell add up agta hogutte. Coming with respect to another important property, that is your electron gaining enthalpy. Electron gain enthalpy. So when we were dealing with the halogens, if you just remember, I have just used the word that halogens will be having a negative electron gain enthalpy, very high negative electron gain enthalpy. Why I said so, I have also said the reason over there. So halogens will be having the outer electronic configuration as what? Ns2 np5. So they are in the need of one electron to become stable. So energy is inversely proportional to stability. Alva? So whenever an energy is released, we always indicate it by the negative sign. So our reason ಇಂದಾನೆ ಈಗ ಹ್ಯಾಲೋಜನ್ಸ್ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತಾ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು, ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ರಿಲೀಸ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. So it was having a negative sign. But noble gases ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, it is having as what? Ns2 np6. Already it is having the full electrons. It is no need of having any electrons. So our reason ಇಂದಾನೆ it will be having a very high positive electron gain enthalpy. So ಇದತ್ರ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೊದಲೇ ಅದು ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಉಂಟು. ಸೊ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ತರದ್ದು ಎನರ್ಜಿನ ಕೊಡೋ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. So when energy is not released, what does it indicates? Energy is remaining as such. So there is a reason the electron gain enthalpy of your noble gases will be highly positive. Is that clear? Okay. Now coming with respect to its physical properties. Now let us talk something about its physical properties of your noble gases. So first of all, we'll go with the physical properties of your noble gases. Do remember, all noble gases are colorless. All are colorless. They are odorless, and also they are tasteless. Okay, very much important part. Do remember, all noble gases are monoatomic. That means they are not existing as a molecule. They have their individual identity. For example, if you write helium, always whenever you see any reaction, we'll take it as He itself. Similarly, xenon, Xc, radon, Rn. We'll not ever write it as a 2, 3 or like that, all those things. Is that clear? That is the first part. And coming with respect to its solubility, they are sparingly soluble in water. Coming with respect to its melting point and boiling point, do remember your your noble gases who are having a very low melting point and boiling point. What is the reason? Because once again, the type of the force which is existing over there is a London forces or your dispersion forces, weak dispersion forces. Comparatively ಬೇರೆವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೋವಲೆಂಟ್ ಬಾಂಡು, ಅಯೋನಿಕ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದು ಯಾವ ತರದ ಬಾಂಡು ಅಥವಾ ಫೋರ್ಸು, ವೀಕ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್. ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಈ ವೀಕ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇರೋ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಏನಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಆ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಏನ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು ಅಥವಾ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದಿ ಬಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ದೇರ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ದಿ ಆಟಮ್ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ, ಮೊನೋ ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ, ಒಂದು ಕ್ಲಸ್ಟರ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ, ಒಂದು ಕ್ರಿಸ್ಟಲ್ ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ಯಾಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಸುಮಾರು ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಿರುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಬಾಂಡಿಂಗ್ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವೀಕ್ ವ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೆರ್ ವಾಲ್ಸ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಥವಾ ವೀಕ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪರ್ಷನ್ ಫೋರ್ಸ್, ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. So our reason ಇಂದನೆ they will be having the very low melting point and boiling point. Coming with respect to the another part is your diffusion of helium. Your helium ಏನು ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, it can easily diffuse out even from your plastic or even from your rubber, even from your glass. ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹೀಲಿಯಂನ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಸ್ಟೋರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. It has that property to diffuse out quickly from that of your plastic, rubber or a glass. So guys, now you're going to see certain interesting part in this noble gases. What is so much interesting, sir, after seeing these many reactions? ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು. ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ, of course when I was saying about the noble gases, again and again I was saying that your noble gases do not react with other elements. Your noble gases are inert. That is the reason they are called as a noble gases. This word again and again monotonously I was saying the same thing. Okay, but do remember, it was only until 1962. What I am saying, it was only until 1962 we were having no evidence, or we can say we were having no reaction to say that your noble gas react with any other element. Your noble gas react with any other element. Why, sir, you're giving this particular date? Because after this year, okay, I am giving this particular year because after this year we saw a compound of your noble gases. That means your noble gases was also having a tendency to react with another element. So it was done by your Neil Bartlett. Neil Bartlett. And it was very much, what you can say, interesting part, because whatever he synthesized, it was his knowledge of, what you can say, curiosity. From curiosity, he actually discovered the compound of your noble gas. Let's see how he did it. Basically, he was trying to prepare a complex. Okay, he was trying to prepare a complex of oxygen and that of your platinum hexafluoride. Platinum hexafluoride. And of course, he succeeded in it. So he obtained a compound having the formula as O2 plus PtF6 minus, which was a complex, so it was having a red color. This was actually his task to do, okay, with reacting with oxygen with PtF6. But he was curious over here. What was his curiosity? He just calculated the first ionization enthalpy. What he did? He calculated the first ionization enthalpy of molecular oxygen. That is O2. O2 in the first valence electron ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ O2 molecule ಇಂದ ಒಂದು valence electron, if he has to remove one valence electron from the outermost orbit ಇಂದ ಒಂದು electron ತೆಗಿಬೇಕು O2 ಇಂದ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಬೇಕಾಯಿತು ಅಂತ ಕ್ಯಾಲ್ಕುಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ. And he got the value as 1175 kilojoules per mole. Similarly, he just cross-checks his data. What will be the first ionization enthalpy of xenon then? And to his astonishment, it was nearly same. It was having the range of 1070 kilojoules per mole. 1170 kilojoules per mole. Oxygen was having 1175 kilojoules per mole, whereas xenon was having 1170 kilojoules per mole. So he made an idea over here. When oxygen can react with this PtF6, why not your xenon? Because it is also having the nearest ionization enthalpy. So he just did an experiment. To what he did, instead of oxygen, he just took the xenon directly to be treated with platinum hexafluoride. And to his astonishment, he got a compound, and the formula was Xc plus PtF6 minus, which was called as Bartlett compound. And from here onwards, each and every scientist have their wide open mouth and wide open eyes to create or to discover many other noble gas compounds using your xenon. So 1962 was a boundary for the mind, knowing that no noble gases can react with other elements. After 1962, when Neil Bartlett was able to discover a compound of your noble gas, from then onwards, we have synthesized many xenon compounds which will be containing that of your fluorine and oxygen. Okay, xenon fluorine compounds na prepare ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ, xenon oxygen compounds nu prepare ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. But the initial path, or the first person in order to discover this noble gas compounds, the credit goes to your Neil Bartlett. So therefore, whatever the compound he has synthesized, it has been kept, the compound name has been kept to honor his name as a Bartlett compound. Is that clear? So then onwards, we have synthesized many xenon compounds which will be containing the most electronegative element, that is xenon with oxygen and xenon with fluorine. Similarly, with respect to the krypton also, we have synthesized one, that is your KrF2. With respect to the radon, when you come, of course it is not synthesized. Adunna navu isolate madakke agilla, but we have identified it. See, I am using the word isolate and identify. Isolate means ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಹೊರಗೆ ತೆಗೆದು ನೋಡಬಹುದು ಅಥವಾ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಆದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು, ಅದು ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದ್ದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. And one such we are having of radon, that is your radon difluoride. Okay, ಇದು ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹೈಲಿ ಅನ್ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್. ಓಕೆ, ಅದು ನಾವು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅದಷ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಫೇವರೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅದು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ವೆರಾಸ್ ಐಸೋಲೇಟ್ ಆಗಕ್ಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಆರ್ಗಾನ್, ನಿಯಾನ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಹೀಲಿಯಮಿನ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಂಥಸೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಇಫ್ ಯು ಟ್ರೈ, ಆಫ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗೆಟ್ ಅ noble gas. Try for it. So till now we have come with respect to the xenon compounds and that of your krypton compounds, and just we have identified that of your radon compounds. So the next part we are going to understand in this group 18 elements how to synthesize, or what is the preparation, how to prepare your xenon fluorine compounds. Xenon fluorine compounds ಹೆಂಗೆ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ನೋಡೋಣ. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ xenon ಮತ್ತೆ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದು ನಮಗೆ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ 3 ಟೈಪ್ಸ್. ಒಂದು XeF2, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು XeF4 ಅಂಡ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು XeF6. ನೋಡಬಹುದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ xenon ಏನಾಗಿದೆ, ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಮೋನೋ ಅಟಾಮಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಎಕ್ಸಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. XeF2, XeF4 and XeF6, and all this reaction we are going to study, which will be a direct reaction, okay, with the appropriate experimental condition. So first of all, we'll see Xe plus F2. It reacts with a 673 Kelvin temperature at a 1 bar atmospheric pressure to give you as an XeF2. Okay, here xenon is taken as an excess. Basically, xenon will be in the solid state. Sorry, xenon will be in the gaseous state because it's a monoatomic gas. F2 is also in the gaseous state. But whatever the XeF2 has been formed, that is solid. That is solid. Coming to the next part, how to synthesize your XeF4, basically Xe plus 2F2. So whatever the ratio we are going to take, it will be 1:5 ratio. Okay, 1:5 ratio. Okay, at nearly 873 Kelvin temperature and a 7 bar pressure. Here also you are going to get as an XeF4. Very much important reactions they can ask you. Similarly, Xe plus that of your 3F2, here also it is a gas, here it is a gas, this is also gas, this is also gas. Here nearly the temperature range we are maintaining is a 573 Kelvin temperature and nearly 60 to 70 bar pressure. You are going to get as that of your XeF6, which is once again a solid. So by this way we are going to prepare your xenon fluorine compounds. Okay, here the ratio is nearly 1:20 ratio. 1:20 ratio. Illi problem illa, 1:1. Next part, in order to synthesize your XeF4, we have to take 1:5, and that of your XeF6 you have 1:20. Don't go with this stoichiometry. It is only for your balancing the equation. So commercially prepare ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ರೇಷಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ತಗೋಬೇಕು. Is that clear? There is also another method. They can ask you, okay, how can you prepare XeF6 with respect to XeF4? XeF4 na use ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾವ ತರ ನೀವು XeF6 na prepare ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ? So basically XeF4, when it is treated with O2F2, very much important, just see the formula. O2F2 at nearly 143 Kelvin temperature, you will be getting your XeF6 plus oxygen getting liberated. Oxygen getting liberated. So this way also you can prepare your XeF6 with respect to which one? Xenon tetrafluoride. Okay, coming with respect to their properties, of course your XeF2, XeF4 and XeF6 all are colorless, and all you can see they are all solids. They are of crystalline solids. They are of crystalline solids. And do remember the most important part, they are all powerful fluorinating agents. They are powerful fluorinating agents. FLUORINATING, fluorinating agents. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಡೈಸಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನು? ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಥವಾ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಜನ್ ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಫ್ಲೂರಿನೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಏಜೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ನ ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ರೆಡಿಲಿ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಲೈಸ್. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ವಾಟರ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಾಕು, ಏನಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ? ದೇ ಆರ್ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ನೋಡೋಣ. XeF2 ಪ್ಲಸ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಟ್ರೀಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಯು ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಯುವರ್ xenon plus that of your HF plus that of your O2 gas getting liberated. So here XeF2 is your solid, H2O is your liquid, Xe is a gas, HF is once again a liquid which is related as an aqueous, O2 is a gas. So ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ amount of water ಇದ್ರೂ ಏನಾಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ? ನಿಮ್ಮ xenon fluorine compounds ಉಂಟು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಹೈಡ್ರೋಲೈಸ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. Okay, if in case if I want to balance this, yes, HF ಅಲ್ವಾ, H2O2, so 2HF ಅಂದ್ರೆ XeF2 balanced up. So Xe 2H, oh, oxygen is not balanced, so I should add as 2H2O. 2H2O ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ will become 4HF. So 4HF ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2XeF, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು 2Xe ಅಲ್ವಾ, 2XeF2 plus 2 water gives you 2Xe plus 4HF plus O2. next important property is whenever your xenon fluoride, okay, it's going to react with the fluoride ion acceptors. ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಈ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಯಾವುದು ಅದು ಫ್ಲೂರೈಡ್ ಅಯೋನ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂತರ್ ಜೊತೆ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ನಿಮ್ಮ xenon fluorides ನ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾಟಯಾನಿಕ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಒಂದು ಆನಯಾನಿಕ್ ಸ್ಪೀಶೀಸ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ರೈಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಡೌನ್. ಯು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿ XeF2 ಪ್ಲಸ್ PF5. ಸೊ ಬೇಸಿಕಲಿ ಈ PF5 ಏನು, ಇದು ಫ್ಲೂರೈಡ್ ಅಯಾನ್ ಎಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟರ್. ಸೊ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಅಯಾನ್ ಫ್ಲೂರೈಡ್ ನ ಈ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ತನ್ನ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳುತ್ತೆ. ಅವಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, XeFO ವಿತ್ ಇನ್ ದಿ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಬ್ರಾಕೆಟ್, ಇದು ಪ್ಲಸ್. ಇಲ್ಲೇನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ P, ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಒನ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್, PF6 ಮೈನಸ್. Similarly, XeF4 it reacts with SbF5. So here you can get as what, XeF3 plus okay, not plus, SbF6 minus. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದನೇ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ xenon fluorides are actually fluorinating agent. ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಡೊನೇಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದನೇ ನಾವು ಹೇಳೋದು they are the powerful fluorinating agents. But the important part we have to talk about their structures. Okay, the structures are very much important. First of all, we'll go with the XeF structure. Okay, XeF2 structure. XeF2 structure, do remember it is having a linear structures. Very much important, guys. They can ask you directly the structures. XeF2 linear, but along with that one, it is having a 3 lone pair of electrons in this way. 3 lone pair of electrons in this way. XeF2 the structure ಯಾವುದು, linear. ಬಟ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ನೀವು XeF2 ಅಂತ ಬರೀಬಾರ್ದು, ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಏನು ಇರಬೇಕು, 3 lone pair of electrons ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Coming with respect to XeF4, basically it is having a square planar structure, F, and over here you are having as a F, and here is somewhat short bond F. So in this way you are having, but do remember it is also having the lone pair. One lone pair ಇರೋದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ನಾವು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಮರ್ತೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ಬರೆಯಕ್ಕೆ, ಅದು ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ದಿ 2 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್, ಅಂಡ್ ಡೂ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಸ್ಕ್ವೇರ್ ಪ್ಲೇನರ್. ಮೆನಿ ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ವಿ ಮಿಸ್ ದಿಸ್ ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್. ಡೋಂಟ್ ಮಿಸ್ ಇಟ್, ವೆರಿ ಮಚ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಇಸ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲೇನ್. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದ್ರೆ ಅರ್ಧನೇ ತೋರಿಸಿರೋದು. ಮುಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ತೋರಿಸಬಹುದಿತ್ತು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ತರ ಉಂಟು, ಇದು ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ, ಆ ಪ್ಲೇನ್ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆನೆ ಉಂಟು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಈ ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ಏನ್ ಆರ್ಬಿಟಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಉಂಟು, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಸೈಡ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಪ್ಲೇನ್. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದಾನೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದನ್ನ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದಿ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಯುವರ್ XeF6. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಕ್ಟಾಹೆಡ್ರಲ್. Why? Because it is having one lone pair of electrons. ಆ ರೀಸನ್ ಇಂದ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಏನ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆಕ್ಟಾಹೆಡ್ರಲ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ರೀಸನ್ ವಿ ಸೇ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆಕ್ಟಾಹೆಡ್ರಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್. Here comes F and here comes F. So this is actually distorted octahedral. ನೋಡಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್ ಇತ್ತು, XeF4 ಅಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರು, XeF6 ಅಲ್ಲಿ 1 ಲೋನ್ ಪೇರ್. In this way also you can remember distorted octahedral structure. Very much important, you have to notify this structures. Coming to the last topic of our group 18 elements, that is your xenon oxygen compounds. As I said, once when 1962 ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ತುಂಬಾನೇ xenon compounds ನ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. As you see, one was with respect to the fluorine, the other part was with respect to your oxygen. The common thing of oxygen is mainly we will be seeing XeOF4 and XeOF3. Okay, ಇದು XeOF3 ಏನುಂಟು, XeO3 ಏನುಂಟು, XeO3, it is mainly obtained with respect to that of your XeF4 and XeF6. Okay, hydrolysis ಮಾಡಿ ತೆಗಿತೀವಿ. So XeF4, when you are going to treat it with water, you are going to get as a xenon plus XeO3 plus HF plus O2. These all reactions are very much important. So now in order to balance this, you just remember this in this way. 6 XeF4 ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 6 2s are 12 water. ಇದನ್ನ ಜ್ಞಾಪಕ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. then easily you can only do it ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ Xe ಉಂಟು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 12 ಬರಬೇಕು, ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಇರೋದು 2 ಕಡೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಫ್ಲೂರಿನ್ ಇರೋದು ಒಂದೇ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಸೊ 6 4s are 24. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 24 HF ಅಂತ ಹಾಕ್ತೀನಿ. H ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆಯ್ತು, 12 2s are 24. ಟೋಟಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಈಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಉಂಟು, ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 ಉಂಟು. ಸೊ ಯಾವ ತರ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು ನೋಡಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೀಗ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 4 Xe ಹಾಕಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2 XeO3 ಹಾಕೋಣ. ಸೊ 4 plus 2 6 ಆಯ್ತು. ಓಕೆ, xenon is balanced. What about fluorine? Fluorine 6 4s are 24. ಓಕೆ, ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಆವಾಗಲೇ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಲ್ವಾ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ನೋಡಿ 3 2s are 6, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು 3 2s are 6. Okay, balance. So 12 oxygen. So 3 2s are 6, 3 2s are 6. So everything is balanced. So if you just remember this part, the first part, XeF4, when it is hydrolyzed in water, you will be getting your XeO3 part. So similarly, you can also prepare with taking your XeF6 with that of your water. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ XeO3 plus HF. ನಾಟ್ ಮಚ್ ಅದೇ. ಸೊ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಬ್ಯಾಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 3 oxygen unto, so if I put here as a 3H2O, yes, 3 2s are 6, so I can directly put as a 6HF because here you are having 6F. Okay, similarly this was a complete hydrolysis, complete agi hydrolysis ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ. There is another part where you can do the partial hydrolysis. Partial hydrolysis ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ್ಲೂ ನಿಮಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ XeOF4 ಮತ್ತೆ XeO2F2 ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ಯಾವುದು? XeO3. ಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಹೈಡ್ರಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಯಾವ ಎರಡು ತರದ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ನಿಮಗೆ? XeOF4 and XeO2F2. So when you are doing the partial hydrolysis, XeF6 plus your water, you are going to get as an XeOF4 plus HF. 4 untalva, so 2HF balanced. Similarly, XeF6 plus that of your H2O, XeOF4 aitu. Next to XeO2F2 plus HF, direct reaction, nothing you have to change. Balance to 2. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಈಗ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು? 4HF ಬರಿಬಹುದಲ್ಲ. 4HF ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 2H2O ಬರಿಬೇಕು. 2H2O ಬರಿಬೇಕಾ? Yes, ಬರಿಬೇಕಲ್ವಾ? Because here we are having 4HF. Yes, 2H2O. Clear? So this was by the partial hydrolysis. Coming to the next part is about their important part, the structures. ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಝೆನಾನ್ ಕಂಪೌಂಡ್ಸ್ ನಾವು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಫ್ಲೋರಿನೇಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರತಿ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಎರಡು ಮೇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಗಳು ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು XeOF4, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು XeO3. ಸೊ XeOF4 ಈ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, XeO ಇರೋದು ಈ ತರ. ಯಾವತ್ತೇ Xe ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ರೆ ಡಬಲ್ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಓವಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Then as usual, the next 4 will be in this way. Okay, so basically XeO2F4 is having a square pyramidal structure. In pyramidal, square pyramidal structure. They coming with respect to XeO3, it is having one lone pair and that of your double bond O and a double bond O. Many times the mistake ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ bonds ನ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ದಿರ್ತೀವಿ, lone pair of electrons ನ ಮಿಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. So this is your XeO3, which is your pyramidal structure. So this was the actually your group 18 elements. So till now, till 1962, we were knowing that your noble gases don't react with any of the elements, but it was proven false after 1962 when Neil Bartlett synthesized a Bartlett compound, that is your xenon with a platinum hexafluoride or platinum hexachloride. So once he prepared such a compound, then afterwards various compounds of xenon were prepared, as you have seen, your xenon fluorine compounds and that of your xenon oxygen compounds. So once you get to know how to prepare your xenon fluorine compounds, utilizing your xenon fluorine compounds, we have synthesized your xenon oxygen compounds through your complete hydrolysis and partial hydrolysis. The structures are, we have seen one by one. With respect to the xenon fluorine, we have seen that whenever you are having a XeF2, you are having a linear. Coming with respect to XeF4, you are having a square planar. Coming with respect to XeF6, you are having a distorted octahedral. Talking about its lone pair, XeF2 is having 3 lone pair, XeF4 is having 2 lone pair, XeF6 is having just 1 lone pair. Very much important, don't forget this lone pair. In XeF4, the lone pair is coming backside of the plane. Coming with respect to the xenon oxygen compounds, we have seen XeO2F4, which is having a square pyramidal. Coming with respect to XeO3, it is having a pyramidal where you are having one lone pair of electron. So this completes your group 18 elements. Along with that one, your P block elements. Once again, I would just like to remind you guys, of course, P block elements is a quite lengthy chapter with many important reactions. Of course, there will be a one important, you will be saying, sir, how to remember these reactions. What I would just suggest is, whenever you're reading for P block elements, you read group wise. Okay, now ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಏನು ಯಾವ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ? ನೈಟ್ರೋಜನ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ, ಗ್ರೂಪ್ 15, ಗ್ರೂಪ್ 16, ಗ್ರೂಪ್ 17 and group 18. So whenever you are reading for P block elements, first you complete one group. Complete, okay, complete again thorough agi. Then you move to the another group. Okay, then you move to the another group. By this way only you can remember the reaction. If you sit at the last and you are going to read all at one time, I will bet with you, you are not going to remember any of the reactions. So in order to understand the reactions in a proper way and to execute it in a proper way in your exam, you have to read the P block elements with respect to group. First you complete group 15. Whatever the reaction, you make a note of it. Important reaction. ಹೇಳಿದ್ನಲ್ಲ ಯಾವ ತರ ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಒಂದು ಪೇಜ್ ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಫೋಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಸೈಡ್ ಗೆ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ 15 ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಬರ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಏನೇನು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಉಂಟು. Then go with your group 16. Then go with your group 17 and finally go with your group 18. 100% ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು, ಅದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. I will bet you once you do like this and you study, I will give you 100% sure you will remember all the reactions. ಯಾವ ಒಂದು ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ನೀವು ಮರೆಯಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿ, ಕ್ಲೋರಿನ್ ಅಂತ ಬಂದಾಗ ಯಾವ ತರ ಅದು ಕೋಲ್ಡ್ ಆಲ್ಕಲಿ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹಾಟ್ ಆಲ್ಕಲಿ ಜೊತೆ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಟೈಕೋಮೆಟ್ರಿಗಳು ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ದೇ ಆರ್ ದಿ 100% sure questions which is going to be asked in this time exam. Okay, not only this time, many times they have asked. This time also they are going to repeat it because they have not deleted those portions. So you have to pay more attention to those type of the reactions along with these important reactions. Xenon compounds are also very much important. Okay, so in our next part we are going to see the D and F block elements. Okay, so have a quick revision of your P block. Okay, if there is any doubt, you can please contact me without any hesitation.